If you'd like to access all my boxing content advert-free and enjoy the convenience of listening via a podcast app with the option to download in high-quality MP3, then consider joining me on Patreon. In addition to the aforementioned perks, you'll also gain access to exclusive weekly live stream Q&A sessions and hangouts, as well as uncensored, no-holds-barred uploads which are too blue for YouTube. This includes my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Boxing Extra. There's no contract, there's no commitment, it's only £2.50 a month and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of hardcore boxing enthusiasts by signing up with me here on Patreon today. Canelo Alvarez is now a free agent. This was first announced by his trainer, Eddie Reynoso, and later confirmed by Goldenboy themselves. So Canelo is no longer with Goldenboy, and he's also no longer with Dazn. They claim, and when I say they, I'm talking about Goldenboy, that the situation was resolved to the satisfaction of all parties. I struggle to understand how Goldenboy and Dazn could be satisfied with the biggest star in world boxing leaving them. I mean, perhaps they're going to get a cut of his future purses. I don't know. Maybe there'll be further details about how the situation was resolved in the coming days and weeks. But the way it looks right now, as an outsider looking in, it's a massive blow for Goldenboy and a massive blow for Dazn. Now, there's been tension between Canelo Alvarez and Goldenboy for quite some time now. It probably predates Canelo joining Dazn. They've managed to patch their differences several times in the past, but it started to look inevitable that Canelo would at some stage break away from De La Hoya. De La Hoya's obviously the face of Goldenboy. I'm not sure if he's the CEO. I don't think he is. But anyway, that operation for the longest time was kept afloat by Canelo. It revolved around Canelo. It existed almost for the sole purpose of promoting Canelo. Now that he's gone, it might be a very, very tough time indeed for that promotional company. Now, they do have people on the come up, the likes of Ryan Garcia, but he is a long, long, long way off filling the void, which will inevitably be left by somebody like Canelo Alvarez. You know, during the dispute between Canelo, Goldenboy, and Dazn, at the early stages of it, De La Hoya came out and was very critical of Dazn. He seemed to be blaming Dazn for all the issues rather than blaming Canelo. But, you know, you'd expect him to do that because he values his partnership, or valued because they're no longer partners, with Canelo more than he would value his partnership with Dazn. So I'm wondering whether De La Hoya was hoping that he could leave Dazn with Canelo too. You know, wherever Canelo goes, Goldenboy goes with him, that kind of thing. But as it stands, Goldenboy are still with Dazn. They're still going to be putting shows on that platform. And I wonder whether De La Hoya's happy with that situation. You know, if he could leave as well, I'm wondering whether he would want to. Because Canelo now leaving Dazn changes the game as far as pay-per-view and broadcasting, because it started to look, when Dazn first entered the US market, as though pay-per-views, if Dazn was successful enough, would become a thing of the past. But the economic downturn in 2020 was unforeseen, and that has changed the situation. Dazn have had to cut back in terms of their spending, as most broadcasters have. But the difference between the other broadcasters, Showtime, ESPN, and Dazn, is that they haven't laid out incredible amounts of money over the past 2 years, because Dazn, of course, were entering a new market in the US. So the amount of money they were spending was just absolutely insane. And they were hoping that they would get that money back in the coming years, particularly after signing somebody like Canelo. Now that the economy has taken a turn for the worse, they're going to have to tighten their purse strings potentially even more than their competitors, ESPN and Showtime. So surely there's going to be a scramble to sign Canelo. Canelo has been with Showtime before. I'm not sure if he's ever fought on ESPN. I don't think so. But they are going to be scrambling for his signature. And surely one of them will get it. If not on a long-term contract, then maybe on a fight-by-fight basis. And as far as Canelo's promotional situation, maybe he's going to look to promote himself. Maybe he's going to take a leaf out of Floyd Mayweather's book and work with certain promoters in conjunction with his own promotional company on a fight-by-fight basis. And this is one of the things that I like about boxing, is it enables fighters. You see, the structure of boxing, I was having this debate with somebody recently on Patreon. The structure of boxing is more of a capitalist structure than something like the UFC, which is more of a socialist or communist structure. Because in the UFC, the money is more evenly spread among fighters. So you don't have to be a particularly well-known fighter, a famous fighter in the UFC to be able to earn a decent living. So the money's more evenly spread, but the top earners in UFC don't make as much as the top earners in boxing. So in boxing, there's a much wider gap between the highest earners and the lowest earners than there is in UFC. But I prefer the structure of boxing because, again, it empowers the best fighters. If you are really good and you're really popular, the sky's the limit in terms of how much money you can earn. I mean, we saw that with Floyd Mayweather. He was absolutely killing it in terms of the amount of money he was making. And Canelo Alvarez, now that he's parted ways with Goldenboy, obviously the economic situation at the moment is uncertain, but potentially he could earn more money now if he decides to work with broadcasters and promoters on a fight-by-fight basis. He could earn more money now than he's ever earned before, previously in his career. And again, that is something that fighters are able to do in boxing. Be their own boss, basically, which they can't do in UFC. There's a much lower ceiling in UFC in terms of earning potential. So let's see what Canelo does here, whether he works with ESPN, Showtime, because he is an exception in terms of the broadcasters are going to be willing to pay out a lot more to secure his signature than they would be to secure any other fighter in the entire world's signature at this juncture. So let's see what he does. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this situation. Who will Canelo Alvarez sign with? Will it be Showtime? Will it be ESPN? Maybe it'll be somebody else who I haven't thought of yet, but those are the two other major networks in the US who show boxing outside of Dazn, because Fox really has become a non-entity, hasn't it? They haven't been showing hardly any boxing anymore. Al Heyman's moved his operation back to Showtime. It was after Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury. He just seemed to move everything back to Showtime, and Fox have been left with virtually nothing. Last I checked anyway. So unlikely that they would step in, but you never know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Where will Canelo go next? What would his best move be, in your opinion, in terms of broadcaster and in terms of promotional situation? And then most importantly, especially from a fan perspective, who's he going to fight next? Which fights excite you the most that Canelo Alvarez could be involved in? Perhaps now that he is no longer with Dazn and De La Hoya, maybe it makes it easier for him to fight the likes of, I don't know, one of the Charlos or, one of the PBC guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below.